Part 143. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1421. Chapter 1421. From beginning to end, I never hated you. She felt particularly aggrieved. It doesn't matter if others yell at her and scold her, but the people she likes do the same to her. Could it be that she is really that annoying? Yes, my brain is not good, my thinking is too messy. I'm sorry, I know what I did was wrong, and I will never meddle in my own business again. Shen Xian choked with grievances while shedding tears. I know you don't like me, you hate me, but I still keep showing up in front of you and make you upset. It's because I don't know myself and I'm thick-skinned. But don't worry, this is the last time. I will never do these foolish things again. You called me here just because you wanted me to stop meddling in my own business. I know, I really won't do it anymore. Thank you for being willing to save some face for me and not say these things to me in public. After Shen Xian finished speaking, she reached out and wiped away her tears. She raised her eyes, her trembling eyelashes were covered with tears, and she looked at Jiao Chen with red eyes and said, I'm sorry for causing you trouble again. Jiao Chen frowned, stared at her for a while, and then spoke again, his voice much calmer, are you done? Shen Xian was stunned. Jiao Chen added, if you've finished speaking, can you let me speak? Everything I say next is true, not a lie. So Shen Xian, please listen to me clearly. I didn't blame you for being nosy, nor did I dislike you, and you never annoyed me. What I just said didn't mean to blame you. I just wanted to tell you that I am not interested in those women, and they and I are not what you think. After saying that, Jiao Chen himself was stunned for a moment. He suddenly realized that he was explaining to Shen Xian. Given his current relationship with Shen Xian, he doesn't need to talk to her about this at all. There is no need to tell her what the relationship between him and those women is. Shen Xian opened her eyes in surprise and couldn't believe it. He said he didn't hate her? Did she hear correctly? But, he obviously hates her. If he didn't hate her, how could he ask her to stop pestering him? If he didn't hate her, how could he pretend to turn a blind eye every time he met her and not even say hello to her? If he didn't hate her, how could he be gentle to everyone but always indifferent to her? If he didn't hate her. Looking back on every moment the two of them got along during this period, it was hard for Shen Xian to believe that he really didn't hate her. Jiao Chen, you really don't hate me? Shen Xian looked at her in disbelief with tears in her eyes. Jiao Chen suddenly felt a little upset. It happens again, every time. When he saw Shen Xian crying, he felt very upset. This irritability is not due to disgust. He himself couldn't tell why, but when he saw her crying, he felt very uncomfortable. Those tears were like fine needles pricking his heart. As soon as her tears fell, he began to feel pain in his heart. I have never hated you. Jiao Chen looked at her and said word by word, Shen Xian, from the beginning to the end, I have never hated you. But, I have been stalking you for several years. Shen Xian pursed her lips and was silent for a while, laughing at herself. Don't you really think I'm annoying? Jiao Chen, you don't have to care about my feelings. You don't have to lie to me. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1422. Chapter 1422 is more thorough than ever before. Jiao Chen frowned, what do you want me to say so that you will believe me? Shen Xian was silent for a while, then she slightly raised the corners of her lips, actually, nothing is important now, is it? Jiao Chen, it doesn't matter whether you hate me or not. Even if you don't hate me, but you don't like me either. If that's the case, what's there to explain? She would rather he really hated her. She would rather he treated her badly. This way, she will be completely heartbroken and will no longer have any illusions about him. Only in order to forget him as soon as possible and no longer like him. Having unrequited love for someone is really tiring. A relationship that is destined to be fruitless has no meaning other than making people feel sad. She has decided to give up on him. Has also slowly adjusted her mentality and no longer has feelings for him. So she didn't want to have any hope in him anymore. Qiao Chen pursed his lips and frowned. Qiao Chen, congratulations on reuniting with your family. From now on, you will be the young master of the Mo family. Seeing your life getting better and better, I am really happy for you. You are the protagonist tonight, and you cannot leave too much. Has it been long? Come back quickly. Qiao Chen looked at her without saying anything, and frowned even more tightly. I've said everything that needs to be said, and there should be nothing else. Shen Xian curled her lips again, with a faint smile on her lips and said, I can't leave for too long, otherwise my father and mother will be together soon. I have to be anxious. Then I'll go back first. After Shen Xian finished speaking, there was still no movement from Qiao Chen. She raised her head and glanced at him, and saw Qiao Chen looking at her with a frown. The expression on his face was not good, and there seemed to be a trace of anger in his eyes. He seemed angry. But Shen Xian didn't know why he was angry. She didn't want to guess his thoughts anymore. She said nothing more and turned to leave. Qiao Chen looked at her leaving figure. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt a little panicked. He had a premonition that Shen Xian would never come back once she left. This prediction made him feel panicked. Looking at the girl's petite figure walking further and further away, almost completely blending into the night, Qiao Chen's heart tightened, and before his mind could think clearly, his body moved first. He took a step forward and called out, Shen Xian. The girl who had walked far away paused and stopped. Qiao Chen's lips moved. He obviously had something to say, but he didn't know what to say. He just felt that he couldn't just let Shen Xian go. Shen Xian waited for a few seconds, but before he spoke again, she didn't wait any longer and walked forward. Qiao Chen didn't stop her again. He had a hunch that after this time, the relationship between him and Shen Xian might be completely broken. More thorough than ever before. He also had a vague sense of what those strange feelings he had towards Shen Xian were. But what if he felt it? He is not suitable to have a relationship with any girl now. He also doesn't want to delay others. Perhaps one day he will regret what he has done now. But at this moment, he can only choose this way, and only this choice is the best for both parties. Before many things are completely resolved, feelings are a luxury for him. He didn't want to touch it, and he didn't dare to touch it. Asterisk. Halfway through the banquet, Mo Shixio took Zhang Luli and left early. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1423. Chapter 1423. How deep can such love be? After getting in the car, Zhang Luli turned his head and looked out the car window without saying anything. The clear and pleasant breath approached, and the man's deep magnetic voice sounded in her ears, Are you unhappy? Zhang Luli was startled and slowly turned his head. Mo Shixio's deep black eyes were fixed on her, with a probing look in his eyes. Is it because of my mother? Zhang Luli was startled again. In fact, she was not in a bad mood. After all, she had been mentally prepared before coming, and she had already anticipated all possible outcomes. It's just that she wasn't in a very good mood. Mrs. Mo's displeasure and dislike for her were all written on her face. After saying hello to her once, she never spoke to her again. Mrs. Mo is Mo Shixio's mother. In his heart, Zhang Luli still hopes to get her approval. Seeing that she didn't speak, Mo Shixio knew that he had guessed correctly. After he lowered his eyes and was silent for a moment, he said softly, "Luoli, I hope that my family can like you. But my mother, she has a strong sense of family status. When ACI brought his younger siblings home, she also treated them the same way. It's dissatisfying. She has always hoped that ACI and I can find a well-matched wife, but neither ACI nor I like the girl she is satisfied with. I can't correct her concept, and I can't force her to like you. But I want to say, no matter whether my family is satisfied with you or not, since you are the person I recognize, it doesn't matter whether they like you or not. Okay, it won't affect my feelings for you. My heart will not be shaken in any way. Unless you waver first." Zhang Luli looked at him blankly, her heart beating uncontrollably because of his words. "Mom, I will have a good talk with her." Mo Shixio didn't seem to know how much his words affected Zhang Luli, nor did he know how much Zhang Luli's heart was disturbed by him at this moment. "Not peaceful." He said to her seriously, "It's best if she can accept you. If she can't, then don't worry about her. If meeting her makes you feel bad, then in the future, if it's not necessary, you and her will be together. No need to meet." Zhang Luli had a look of surprise in his eyes. "Mo Shixio, do you mind if your mother doesn't like me?" "What do I mind? She is your mother. Don't you care about her opinion at all? If she is always dissatisfied with me and cannot accept me, and wants you to find a girl who is of the same family as the Mo family, what will you do?" Zhang Luli likes Mo Shixio. "But it's not to the point where I can't live without him, or I'd be miserable if I left him. She is a pretty girl. Like Mo Shixio, it's just love at first sight. How deep can such a love be?" So she felt that it was better to ask about some things now. If Mo Shixio cares about Mrs. Mo's opinion and is the kind of man who listens to his mother, then she can break up with him as soon as possible. Long-term pain is worse than short-term pain. Zhang Luli has never suffered any emotional blow, nor has he been tortured by love. But she had seen what it was like when others suffered emotional blows. She didn't want to experience that feeling at all. Mo Shixio pondered for a moment, as if he was seriously thinking about the question she raised. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1424. Chapter 1424. Then prove it to me. She didn't want to experience that feeling at all. Mo Shixio pondered for a moment, as if he was seriously thinking about the question she raised. After a moment, he slowly said, "I have considered this issue when I decided to be with you. Zhang Luli, I am an adult, not a child. My life is determined by me. I make my own decisions. Naturally, I will accept some of my parents' opinions, but that doesn't mean I have to listen to them. My mother has always wanted me to find a well-matched girl, and she has also introduced me to many famous ladies. But if I don't like it, it's useless no matter how satisfied she is. For the same reason, if I like it, it's useless for her to object. So my answer is, I don't listen to anyone, I only listen to my own heart." Zhang Luli's heart beat a little faster. "Listen to your heart? Then what are you thinking?" Mo Shixia raised his eyes, looked at her with eyes as dark and thick as night, and replied without any hesitation, "I want to be with you." The man's tone of voice didn't change, and the expression on his face didn't change either, as if he was saying something very ordinary. But Zhang Luli's heart was stirred up one after another by him. Mo Shixia. She took a deep breath. Mo Shixia raised his eyebrows and immediately responded, "Huh? Who else have you said this to? There is no one else except you. Do you really want to be with me? Do you want me to swear, Luoli? Are you willing to swear? If this can make you believe me, then I am willing. I can swear it right away." At this moment, Zhang Luli felt that her heart was beating very fast, so fast that it seemed that it would jump out of her chest in the next second. The most deadly flirtation is probably the invisible one. Amo Shixiu didn't even know what it meant to tease a woman, but just now he teased her one after another until her heartbeat was abnormal. I'm afraid he himself doesn't know how seductive the words he said are. Amo Shixiu. Do you know what I want to do now? Seeing the girl next to him suddenly approaching him, Amo Shixiu's heartbeat, which had been kept calm, suddenly accelerated. His sitting posture also became a little stiff, but he maintained his previous sitting posture. Just as Zhang Luli got closer and closer to him, his body became stiffer and stiffer. He pursed his lips, tightened the two hands hanging down by his sides, looked at the girl's bright face that gradually enlarged in front of him, and spoke in a tight voice, "What do you want to do?" Zhang Luli chuckled. She looked at the man in front of her who was obviously 10 years older than her, but his body tensed up because of her approach. She stretched out her hands and gently wrapped her arms around his neck. She raised her little face and lowered her voice, "Do you still remember that I taught you the steps for dating between lovers? What is the third step?" Amo Shixiu thought about it carefully. After thinking about it, his body became more and more tense. He lowered his eyes and looked at the girl who had leaned on him. His heartbeat was a little abnormal for a moment. "Amo Shixiu, do you like me? Then prove it to me." Zhang Luli put some force on his neck, and Amo Shixiu couldn't help but lower his head. He lowered his head, Zhang Luli raised his face, and the distance between them was less than half a finger. Amo Shixiu's heartbeat has never been so fast. Asterisk. Lao Si, what's going on with you? End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1425. Chapter 1425, You really have thoughts that you shouldn't have. Yan Shaoqing walked to a place where there was no one around and then stopped. Behind him, Gong Zili also slowly stopped. Yan Shaoqing turned around, frowning, and looked at Gong Zili with eyes full of inquiry. Gong Zili had no expression on his face. He glanced at him and said calmly, "What's going on? What did you want to say when you called me over?" After Yan Shaoqing stared at him for a few seconds, he asked directly without beating around the bush, "Fourth brother, we have known each other for so many years, and I don't want to beat around the bush with you. Let me ask you something, I hope can you tell me the truth? Do you have any thoughts about your sister-in-law? Is your abnormality in recent times also because of her? Is the reason why you and Shenro are in such trouble now also related to your sister-in-law?" Gong Zili listened indifferently at first, but after hearing this, his expression gradually changed. Yan Shaoqing observed his reaction. At first he was wondering if he was overthinking it, and he also hoped that he was overthinking it. But Gong Zili's reaction made his expression change a little bit. The expression on his face became solemn. "Lao Si, you really treat my sister-in-law?" Gong Zili pursed his lips and did not answer his question directly. "If you called me here just to ask these silly questions, then I'm leaving." "Wait a minute." Fourth brother Yan Shaoqing immediately stepped forward and held his shoulders, frowning and saying, "You haven't answered my question yet, so you don't really have those thoughts about my sister-in-law?" "Fourth child, are you crazy? Don't you know that your sister-in-law is already married to your second brother? I originally thought I was overthinking it, but now it seems that you really have thoughts that you shouldn't have." Yan Shaoqing was surprised, and couldn't understand it at all. "Didn't you hate her at first? How could it happen now? You can have feelings for any woman, but that's my sister-in-law. What are you thinking in your heart?" He finally understood why during this period, he kept asking Gong Zili out but couldn't make them out. Even if we get a date, he is no longer as playful as before. He also sent away all the female companions arranged for him. He originally thought it was because he had a conflict with Shenro. In any case, he never thought that it would be related to Jiao Mian. Gong Zili knew very well how much he disliked Jiao Mian. Who would have thought that he would have such thoughts about Jiao Mian now? This is incredible. What happened in the meantime? Fourth brother, you should say something, Yan Xiaoqing yelled for a long time, but when he saw that Gong Zili had no reaction at all, he couldn't help but become anxious. There are things that we cannot say between brothers. You tell me, are you attracted to your sister-in-law? Gong Zili pursed his lips and turned around with a stern face. He said coldly, who told you that I had thoughts about her? No one told me. I saw it myself. Yan Xiaoqing thought of the scenes he just saw and frowned again. Your eyes are almost glued to her, and you look at her with such a strange look. If I still can't see it, then all these years of being brothers with you have been in vain. Gong Zili frowned. Is it so obvious? As if she could see what he was thinking at the moment, Yan Xiaoqing curled up his lower lip and said, you should be lucky that I was the only one who saw it. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1426. Chapter 1426. I will definitely not spare you. If your second brother sees you staring at his wife like that, he is such a possessive and perverted person, and he will definitely not be able to spare you. So what? I don't know if he was irritated by his words, but Gong Zili said coldly, I still understand that friends' wives should not be bullied. I didn't think about what to do, but in my heart isn't it possible to think about it? Yan Xiaoqing was stunned for a moment, then his expression changed. Fourth brother, you are really, towards my sister-in-law. I advise you that if you don't want to lose your second brother, you should put your thoughts aside as soon as possible. Even if you can't do it for a while, don't be so obvious anymore. If this incident makes things so ugly between brothers after so many years, do you think it's worth it? There are so many women in the world. Who do you have a bad crush on? How could you, fourth child, what are you thinking? Gong Zili never thought of hiding anything from Yan Xiaoqing. So I admitted it directly. He knew how inappropriate and stupid this matter was in the eyes of other people. He himself feels quite stupid. It's just that there are some things that even he himself can't control. There are some things that you don't understand. Gong Zili didn't intend to explain more, and said quietly, if you are worried that I will have trouble with ACI because of this, you can rest assured. What can be done and what cannot be done? I know what I did. I don't plan to do anything, let alone affect ACI's marriage. But fourth brother, didn't you dislike your sister-in-law very much before? And what's going on between you and Shenro? Isn't Shenro the one you like? I really don't believe you changed your mind so quickly. Did something happen, so? Don't ask any more. Gong Zili's voice became fainter. You don't need to know what happened. You want to continue to be friends with Shenro. This is your freedom. But between me and her, it is impossible, no more friends. You don't have to persuade me. She and I can't go back to the past. Yan Xiaoqing opened his mouth and slowly swallowed the words that came to his lips. Just now, he wanted to be a peacemaker and persuade Gong Zili and Shenro to make peace. But Gong Zili has spoken so decisively now, and he can't persuade him to make peace with just a few words. For Gong Zili to say these words, something serious must have happened between him and Shenro. Although Gong Zili refused to say anything, Yan Xiaoqing had a vague feeling that this matter must be related to Jiao Mian. Okay. Just be aware of it. In short, don't do stupid things. Yan Xiaoqing also knows this kind of thing. As a brother, the most he can do is remind him and persuade him. As for what Gong Zili thinks, he is the one who controls it. Can't. Now he has reminded and advised me. As for whether Gong Zili listened to it or not, he couldn't control it. After a while, Gong Zili and Yan Shaoqing left one after another. They had just walked for a while when Shenro walked out from under a big tree behind them with a gloomy face. Her eyes were filled with intense hatred. Chiao Mian Mian, she gritted her teeth and read out the name word by word, with strong hatred in every word. She is really hateful. Gong Zili actually really fell in love with that little bitch. She has nothing now. If it wasn't for Chiao Mian Mian, she would at least have had Gong Zili's escape route. But now, she has nothing. Everything is given by Chiao Mian Mian. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1427. Chapter 1427 already has a guess. Without Chiao Mian Mian, many things would not be what they are now. She will not break up with Mo Yesi. If she and Mo Yesi still have the same relationship as before, if something happens to Shen this time, Mo will definitely help. Gong Zili couldn't ignore her. As long as Shen survives the difficulties, she will still be the popular eldest daughter of the Shen family. Her life in the past 20 years had always been good. Since Chiao Mian Mian appeared, she has been unlucky, and her life has become more and more unsatisfactory. So, if Chiao Mian Mian is gone, can her life go back to what it was before? If Chiao Mian Mian is gone. The moment this idea came out of her mind, Shenro had murderous intent in her eyes. Asterisk. Old lady, Mrs. Bai said she wanted to talk to you about something. I wonder if you have time now. Ballroom. The old lady was holding Chiao Mianmian's hand and talking, asking her some work-related matters. Zhang Bo came over, followed by a person. Chiao Mianmian looked up and saw that it was Mrs. Bai. She immediately stood up and walked towards her. Mrs. Bai also stepped forward and gently held her hand. When the old lady on the side saw this, she was stunned for a moment and asked with confusion in her eyes, "Does Mrs. Bai know our Mian Mian acquaintance?" Madame Bai held Chiao Mianmian's hand, raised her head and looked at the old lady. She smiled and replied warmly, "We know each other, of course we know each other. The thing I want to talk to the old lady about is related to Mian Mian. No, do you know if the old lady has time?" The old lady was stunned for a moment, looked at her, then at Chiao Mian Mian, then nodded and said, "Of course I have time. Mrs. Bai, sit down and talk. Uncle Zhang, go and bring Mrs. Bai a cup of tea." "Then I'm not welcome." Mrs. Bai didn't hesitate. The old lady asked her to sit down, so she chose a seat next to the old lady and sat down. Chiao Mian Mian also sat down next to her. Mrs. Bai kept holding Chiao Mian Mian's hand and didn't let go, as if she was extremely curious about her. The old lady looked at the scene and felt even more suspicious. Since when did Chiao Mian Mian have such a good relationship with the Bai family? What surprised the old lady even more was that she found that Chiao Mian Mian and Mrs. Bai looked very similar. The two of them were sitting together, one big and one small, with similar looks. They looked like mother and daughter. I wonder what Mrs. Bai wants to tell me. Why is it related to Mian Mian again? Mrs. Bai glanced at Chiao Mian Mian, pondered for a moment, and then said, "I think the old lady also knows that my family has a daughter. We have been looking for her all these years, but we still have no clue." The old lady nodded, "I have heard about this matter. But I heard that there is news recently, and maybe the person will be found soon, is that right?" Mrs. Bai smiled and said with joy in her eyes, "Maybe God is no longer willing to separate my flesh and blood, and finally returned my Xiao Qi to me. Old lady, we have found Xiao Qi." He was found. The old lady was a little surprised, but she was still very happy for Mrs. Bai. "That's great. Where did you find him? Has the child recognized you now? She will be there tonight. Come with you." The old lady looked around as she spoke. As he watched, his eyes fell on Xiao Mian. She looked at Xiao Mian and Madame Bai's similar looks, and then looked at Madame Bai's extremely intimate look. She felt a thump in her heart and already had a guess. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1428. Chapter 1428. Mian has such a life experience. It's just that she thinks the possibility is still too small. She may have guessed wrong. Well, she is here tonight. When Mrs. Bai said this, she turned her head and looked at Xiao Mian with gentle and loving eyes. She is sitting next to me now. Old lady, this is why I came to you. Mian has recognized our Bai family, and she is the daughter of the Bai family. Since she is now married to Yesi and becomes the daughter-in-law of your Mo family, when will our two families officially have dinner together? Old lady, what do you think? The few words Mrs. Bai said gently and softly were like a bomb thrown into the lake, making several people around her uneasy. The old lady had already guessed some things before. But at this moment, she was still extremely surprised. Your daughter, is Mian? The old lady asked again uncertainly. Yes, Mrs. Bai nodded. Mian is the daughter that our Bai family has been looking for. Some of the things in between are a long story. I will explain it to the old lady slowly when I have time in the future. In short, this matter is there's nothing wrong with that. Mian married Yesi, so our Bai family and Mo family are in-laws. I heard Mian say that the old lady treated her very well. I really want to thank the old lady for taking care of her on weekdays. Mian is still young. If there is anything she didn't do well, I hope the old lady can take more care of it. The old lady was finally sure that she had made a mistake. Xiao Mian is really the daughter that the Bai family has been looking for more than 10 years. She was surprised and confused in her heart, full of questions. But I also know that some things are not convenient to ask now. Mrs. Bai's intention is to discuss other things in detail another day. But no matter what, this is not a bad thing for the Mahists. Even, it's a good thing. The old lady liked Xiao Mian quite a lot, so even though Xiao Mian and Mo Yesi's family backgrounds were not a good match at that time, she didn't dislike it. But the old lady's ideal granddaughter-in-law still wants to find someone who is well matched. So after knowing that Xiao Mian was the daughter of the Bai family, the old lady was actually quite happy. It can be said that she is more satisfied with Xiao Mian. In this way, her granddaughter-in-law and grandson are a good match. The Bai family's family background is already good enough, and there is nothing to be dissatisfied about. Although the Mo family's current status does not require business marriage to stabilize anything, there is absolutely no harm in making a match with a well-matched family. For the Mahists, this is the icing on the cake. Mrs. Bai, what you said is too polite. Mian is your daughter, and she is also my grandson-in-law. I love my grandson-in-law, and that is what I should do. What's more, Mian is sensible and well-behaved. How can she not do anything well? Who can do it better than her? All good. You, mother and daughter, recognize each other. The Bai family and the Mo family are indeed in-laws. The two families should find a time to have a good meal and talk. It is up to you to decide the time. I am available at any time. Just tell me once it's decided. Mrs. Bai smiled brightly and said, I'm also free at any time. The main thing is to see Yesi and Mian. When they say, that's when. The old lady also nodded and said, it depends on when they have time. After the old lady finished speaking, she took another deep look at Xiao Mian and said with emotion, I really didn't expect that Mian would have such a life experience. I don't know what the in-laws are planning now. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1429. Chapter 1429. See how she talks? Should we hold a banquet or something to announce Mian's return to the Bai family, or? Mian said it is better to keep a low profile, so there is no need to announce it to the public. But then we can hold a smaller banquet and invite some relatives and friends. She is busy filming now, so we can wait until she finishes filming. Asterisk. In a corner. MRSMO looked towards MRS Bai and the old lady. When she saw the intimate posture of MRS Bai and Xiao Mian, she frowned and there was a trace of doubt in her eyes. She naturally knows MRS Bai. That's why I was very curious as to why MRS Bai and Xiao Mian looked so close. A few people were sitting there, not knowing what they were talking about, and they seemed to be having a great time chatting. MRSMO didn't like Xiao Mian, so she felt that whatever she did was not pleasing to her eyes. From her point of view, Xiao Mian most likely flattered MRS Bai and used scheming methods to coax MRS Bai into being so close to her. Just like how she coaxed her son and the old lady. He is just a scheming and shameless person. While she was looking at Xiao Mian full of anger, Zhangbo came to her side, bowed his head and said respectfully, "Madam, the old lady asked you to come over. She said she has something to tell you." MRSMO raised her head and frowned. "Old lady, are you looking for me?" "Yes." "Did she say anything?" The old lady didn't say anything specific, but I guess it has something to do with the second young madam. MRSMO's face suddenly became unwell. "Is it related to the second young madam? What's going on?" Uncle Zhang smiled and said, "I don't know that either. You'll know when madam comes over." MRSMO pursed her lips. After a few seconds, she suddenly sneered, "She must be sowing discord in front of the old lady again and saying bad things about me. I'll go over now and see how she talks." After finishing speaking, she stood up and walked towards the old lady with a stern face. Behind him, Uncle John couldn't help but frown when he saw her angry attitude, as if she was going to argue. He sighed secretly in his heart. "I really don't know why my wife has such a bad attitude towards the second young lady. In fact, apart from her family background not matching that of the second young master, the second young lady is also quite good in other aspects. But it just so happens that Madam attaches great importance to family background. If her family background is not good, no matter how good she is in other aspects, she will not look down on her. Let's take the eldest lady of the Shen family, whom Madam used to like the most. Mrs. Shen has watched Miss Shen grow up, and she loves her as a daughter. She has always hoped that she could marry the second young master and be her daughter-in-law. But now, the Shen family has fallen into decline, and it is impossible for Madam to like Miss Shen as much as before. It is even more impossible to want her to marry the second young master. Madam's liking was based on the fact that the Shen family had not yet fallen into disgrace and was still able to match the Mo family. Even if she still likes the eldest daughter of the Shen family, her liking will be reduced. It's just that no matter how dissatisfied she is with the second young master, the second young master and the second young madam are already married. Moreover, the second young master also attaches great importance to the second young wife. If the madam refuses to compromise and acts so repulsively, it will only affect the mother-son relationship between her and the second young master more and more. Asterisk. Old lady, Madam is here. When MRSMO passed by, the old lady and MRS Bai were talking about what Xiao Mian would do at the wedding in the future. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1430. Chapter 1430. MRSMO, do you think this is okay? The old lady thinks that a traditional Chinese wedding is better. MRS Bai likes Western-style weddings. Later, the two of them discussed it over and over and decided that it would be better to hold two weddings. The Mahist family will do one thing, and the Bai family will do it one time. The Mahist family will do Chinese style, and the Bai family will do Western style. While they were having a pleasant conversation, MRSMO came over with a cold face. She didn't even look at Jiao Mian. After walking to the old lady, she called out, "Mom." Then he said, "Uncle Zhang said you have something to do with me. I wonder what it is." The old lady originally had a smile on her face, but when she raised her head and saw MRS Mo's cold face, the smile on her lips suddenly faded. MRS Mo's recent behavior has made the old lady very dissatisfied. Especially after she tried to persuade her several times, but MRS Mo still insisted on going her own way and didn't take her words seriously at all. The old lady became more and more dissatisfied with her. She feels that MRS Mo has become less and less ignorant of the rules recently. They are also paying less and less attention to image. The old lady had some objections to her, and her tone was not much better. She said softly, "Well, sit down first." MRSMO chose a seat and sat down. She sat opposite Jiao Mian and Madame Bai. When she looked up, she saw Madame Bai holding Jiao Mian's hand and whispering something to her. That expression was very gentle and loving, as if she was talking to her own daughter. MRSMO felt angry when she saw this scene. She couldn't help but said in a cold voice, "MRS Bai is here tonight. She is really a rare guest. As a mother-in-law, I don't even know that my daughter-in-law and MRS Bai have such a good relationship. Mian, when will you actually know MRS Bai?" Hearing this, MRS Bai slowly raised her head. MRS Bai had previously worried whether the Mo family would dislike Jiao Mian because she was not of a good background and would not treat her well enough. After the banquet tonight, she could see that MRS Mo was indeed dissatisfied with Jiao Mian. Even when MRS Mo spoke now, she spoke of Jiao Mian with disgust in her eyes. This shows how dissatisfied she is with Jiao Mian. The precious daughter she had just recognized, MRS Bai, could not wait to hold her in her hands and caress her all the time. In front of her, her daughter was disliked like this, and MRS Bai instantly became dissatisfied. When she spoke to MRS Mo, her tone was not too polite. "My mother-in-law was joking. It is normal for mother and daughter to have a good relationship. This is nothing to be surprised about." Mother and daughter. When MRS Mo heard MRS Bai call her her biological mother, she looked at her in surprise. When he heard the sentence "it is normal for a mother and daughter to have a good relationship" again, her eyes widened in shock. She looked at MRS Bai in confusion and surprise, as if something suddenly occurred to her. She turned her head to look at Jiao Mian in disbelief. "MRS Mo, the old lady and I were just discussing the wedding of Mian and Yesi. We think it's most appropriate to have two weddings at that time. Your Mo family will do it first, and then our Bai family will do it again. You are Yesi's mother and Mian's mother-in-law, so I would like to ask your opinion on this matter. MRS Mo, do you think this is okay?" MRS Bai's few understatement words once again revealed an incredible look on MRS Mo's face. "MRS Bai, what do you mean? The mother and daughter you just mentioned." "Oh, I forgot to tell MRS Mo." End of this chapter.